Oh, yes, live from Atlanta, Georgia, SEC Media Days. And we have a very special guest with Cody and I today. We're going to get to him in just 1 second. But first, we have to thank our sponsors, the ones who've gotten us here, Taste on Main, Hayes City Store, and Texas Card House. Man, thanks so much to those guys for sponsoring us, getting us out here to the ATL, putting us up in the Omni. Man, it's been great. And getting the opportunity to talk to people like the executive director of the College Football Playoff. It's Rich Clark. Rich, thanks so much for taking some time today.
Absolutely.
It,
Thanks, Alex. Cody.
it must be nice getting to walk around in a place like this with all these college football associated people, and no one's yelling at you about what their team needs to be.
Not yet. Not yet. No, it's great. It's been really good to be out and, hearing what other people are thinking, what kind of questions folks have. Hearing the commissioners and the coaches talk is really good.
So I guess I have I have some specific questions about some things that the coaches have already said today. There's been some food for thought about what's been discussed so far, but just in general, man, whenever we see, can you take maybe some of our viewers behind the scenes a little bit as far as to once we get into the holiday season and people start tuning in and they get to see you guys in the meetings behind closed doors and stuff like that. What is it like in those meetings? Do you guys quarrel and fight, and like is there knockdown dragouts? Is it pretty civil?
Yeah. So are you talking about the selection committee meetings when we're doing the actual selection process?
Just
Okay.
just like whenever you're stacking things up.
Sure. So, well, first I'll say there's a couple different types of meetings that we have. We have meetings with our commissioners where we're deciding on format. There's a lot of discussion there. They require a lot of information, and rightly so, because they're deciding on the format for the playoff in the future. And so, those are one set of meetings that we have. But then there's the selection committee meetings, which is what I think you're referring to. That's where we get the 13 members of the selection committee that fly into Dallas. Basically, we do it in Grapevine, Texas.
Right.
And you have athletic directors, you got former coaches, former players, and they do a lot of preparation. They're looking at film. They look at maybe 24 games in a weekend. They get a lot of data. They get strength of schedule data. They get other performance data like relative offense, relative defense, special teams, even, position, field position. They also do a lot of, I'll say, independent homework, just things that they need to know about a team before they come in and get ready to vote. And then they talk. They talk and they talk. And not a lot of knockdown, drag out, but a lot of very honest, open discussion. And they have to do that because if they don't put it all out on the table, they can't get good votes. And then we have them vote, and we do round after round after round of voting until we come up with the top 25, and that's what we announce on ESPN.
Can I just ask you, like, you've been the executive director for just over a calendar year now, officially. What's been kind of the biggest thing that you learned kind of in that role this last year that maybe you didn't expect heading into it?
I think probably the biggest thing that I've learned is that the conference commissioners have an incredibly difficult job. People don't realize it, but well, first it's obvious, but they're representing their conference. That is their job. That's their first duty. But they also have to look out for the good of college football. So when they come into the room to talk about format or different changes to the playoff, they have to bring to the table what's good for their conference. But in the end, their decision has to be what's good for all of football. So it's really interesting to hear them talk and to understand how they collaborate and really come to good decisions for us. But it's not easy. Their job is really difficult.
You brought up strength of schedule, and I want to make sure I get back to that because my mind always wanders, and I'll hear something interesting you say, and so I want to get back to strength of schedule.
Okay.
But before we do, you said something interesting, and you said that the league commissioners that they need to can they like? Isn't it kind of incumbent upon? Let me put it a better way. Should they be putting the good of the game first, or should they be putting the good of their conference first?
So, okay, I'll give you a sort of parallel. I was in the military for a long time, and I had to work with Congress a lot. And every congressional member, every member of the House of Representatives, every senator has to represent their district, the people that voted them in, or their state. the people that voted them, and those are their constituents. So when they go into Congress, into session, they're representing their district and their state and what's good for them. But they also have to keep in mind what's good for the country, because they took an oath to do what's good and right, to support and defend the Constitution and what's right for the country. So they have to find that balance. And in the end, what we hope is that while they're keeping in mind what's good for the country and finding compromises to get to what's good for their state, that the end result is good for everybody. And it's similar to that with our commissioners. They know what their conference needs. They know what the athletic directors and the coaches need, but they also have in their mind what's good for all of football. And in the end, when they go with the back and forth and they do whatever compromises might be necessary, we're hopeful and confident that they're going to come out with what's good for all of college football.
Well, of course, thank you first and foremost for your service, and also you can tell that you've definitely dealt with a lot of politicians, man, because you got a lot of real slick answers here.
Really?
All right, but no, as far as the strength of schedule stuff, so you've heard and the whole 16 game thing, or the whole 16 team thing.
Yeah.
They're talking about it today.
Right.
If it goes to that, whether it's going to be the 5+11, whether it's going to be the 4 automatic qualifiers for the 2, I'm sure that these are things you've talked about a million times. But it seems like from what Brian Kelly said today and from what Lane Kiffin said today, it just feels like to me that they come from a place where they're saying that they feel like if the SEC schedule is given the amount of respect that they feel it deserves,
Right.
then they would say, like, we don't care really about automatic qualifiers. We think we're going to probably have a ton of teams in there anyway. But they said that that's all sort of incumbent on the SEC schedule getting its due from the playoff committee. You've talked about strength of schedule. For one, first part of the question, how do you guys do it? Is there like a spreadsheet you all get that's the same that has some kind of metrics? And then 2, do you think that based on this last season and based on what you see moving forward and kind of the view of the committee as a whole, do you feel like the SEC gets the proper respect that these coaches would envision?
Yeah, so there's a lot there. Good
Okay.
and really good questions. So first, I felt like we gave all of the teams, I wouldn't say a conference, but I will say the teams that had the tougher schedules, that the committee really did take that into account. And they looked at that, and rightly so. You know, if a team has that really tough road to get to the playoff and they perform well in that tough road, they deserve credit for that. And that there is no question on that. But I also feel like we owe the committee better tools to do that more accurately and effectively. So we're looking at strength of schedule, because when that metric was first developed, that was a decade ago. And the whole laydown of conferences was different. You know, now we have a different sort of separation between conferences and the kind of competitiveness within a conference. So we have to really take a hard look at how we're measuring that, because everybody doesn't get to play everybody else in all of the across conferences. So what we're looking at is a way to measure strength of schedule that really does take into account those top teams, those elite teams, and give them credit for playing each other, whether they're in the Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, or ACC, because they also have tougher schedules than some of the rest of college football. So we really want to make sure that the tools that we give the committee are accurate and they really do reflect the strength within that a given team plays in their season. So we're going to get there. We have a whole data analytics team. We've even hired some people from Google. We hired a mathematician from a university, and we have folks that are really smart on this stuff that are helping us get better data tools.
Sounds like we're going to get a real strength of schedule tool built just like a roster watch. But is there anything, just in closing, like, is there anything that the fans or the I guess the greater landscape of people should be looking forward to in 2025 that's changed outside of the surface of just saying like 1 through 12 we're going to be ranked how the CFP has it, rather than last year how it was like, you know, the conference champion could move to the top 4? Is there anything else that people need to know?
I think that's probably the biggest change is rather than reseeding based on conference championships. Conference champions will still get into the playoff, the top 5 anyway, and then we'll seed them according to their ranking. And that's, to me, rewarding performance in the regular season. And that's what a bracket should reflect. So that's going to be a big change. But otherwise, it's going to be similar to last year. It's just going to be better. It's going to be better this year. People are going to be more excited this year, and teams are going to be ready because now they know that this playoff is good and they want to be a part of it. And if you win the games that you're supposed to win and you have a tough schedule, your odds are a lot better of getting in, and we're going to take that into account. So I'm excited about this year. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, well, we're excited too. He's Rich Clark, the executive director of the CFP. Thanks so much for taking the time. And just remember, man, whenever we get to November, December, you're yelling at this guy on the TV. Like, just
Come on.
Just remember, man. Back in the summer, the interview that we did here, what a nice dude he is.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate you having me on.
Thank you.
All right.